our data science project in the field of education. So even though many people consider that education is in many ways a very traditional and old school industry, and perhaps it is, but that's also why it's really ready for disruption using data science. So our next team, toktalk, is going to present exactly that.
People sometimes receive information that is contradictory to their own knowledge. Not surprisingly, this case is an example of the existence of multiplicity because, oh my goodness. In that case, he knew another theory to explain the same thing. This also reveals the real meaning of multiplicity. David, can theories have multiplicity?
Multiplicity? Theories? What are you doing right now?
I'm grading essays. It's really challenging.
Oh, just use like a grammar checker or a spell checker.
No, I can't use a grammar checker or a spell checker because actually these are theory of knowledge essays. It's about grading the reasoning and the argumentation. Actually, they could have bad grammar, bad syntax, bad spelling and still get a good grade. I really need to grade the argumentation. So I need to read it from start to finish. They're written by Chinese students and they're 1,600 words long. Can you believe?
How about try toktalk?
Toktalk? What's that?
Well, toktalk is this wonderful website that grades students' essays based on the arguments.
No way.
Yeah, right? You just take the title of the essay, put it in here. Then you can take the actual text of the essay, put it right below, hit evaluate, and it will predict the score for you.
That's amazing. How does that work?
It works on the features of the essay.
Features? Text has features?
Yeah, these are numerical representations of different things you can find after you analyze the essay. Let's take a few examples. So if you look at how many average syllables each word has, we can see from this graph here that words that have more syllables, in general, students who use words with more syllables, will have essays that are higher scored. Over on the right, we have essays with 9 and 8, with average syllable lengths of almost 1.7. Versus on the left, they're using words with fewer syllables on average.
Average syllables per word. That's interesting. I wonder, what about average words per sentence? Because, you know, in my experience of grading, I find that the essays with really short sentences, they're not able to develop really sophisticated arguments, and they're not very good.
Let's take a look at that.
Wow, that really seems to reflect that. I see the short sentence essays are really penalized, and then it sort of dampens after grade 4, after score 4. That's really impressive.
Exactly. Now I have a one for you. How do you think reading ease affects the actual score of the essay?
Reading ease. Well, the easier it is to read, the higher the score. I mean, that seems like common sense. In fact, doesn't your chart there seem to demonstrate that?
That's what we thought also. But if you look at this, the essays on the left, the 1, 2, and 3 essays, while they have high reading ease, have lower scores. Versus on the right, we see essays that are actually more difficult to read, in general, have higher scores.
That's so counterintuitive. How can that be?
Well, our theory here is that students who use these short sentences are not able to fully develop their thoughts and ideas. And because these essays are based on arguments, therefore they have quite low grades.
Wow. Well, that is counterintuitive, but come to think of it, I guess it makes sense. You know, these features are really interesting, and some of them are pretty intuitive. Some of them are really surprising that they'd have some kind of connection with scores and with quality of argumentation. But still, how do you go from features to a score?
Good question. So we started with 500 essays actually written by my students over the last 4 years at my school. One of them is actually right there in the back, or he was a couple of minutes ago. So his essay was one of the training sets. So we looked at the essays and we tried to think of all the different types of features that you might be able to generate. Any feature that we saw to have a trend, like we saw in those previous graphs, we put them all together and we fed them into the model. The model then trained on these essays with these features and now is able to predict new essays that you put into the app. So if you look here at some of the most important features that we found, we already talked about average syllables per word. We talked about the average sentence length, and we talked also about the reading ease.
Right.
We looked at some others. For example, we looked at the title and the synonyms in the title and how often the students use those. The more often they use them, the higher the scores. We also did some natural language processing. So for every word in the essay, we looked at what part of speech it is, we looked at what root of the word, different stuff like that, and we found things, for example, essays where there were trends. So how many the percentage of words they use that were nouns, the pronouns, how much punctuation they used. All of these show trends from lower to higher essay scores.
Wow, that's really cool. I'm going to try this out. It seems really helpful. I mean, I would never dare to just run this without reading the essays, but it seems like a really good indication. And, you know, I'm thinking not just for myself grading the essays, but for the students themselves while they're writing the essays, it seems like a really good tool to help them gauge how they're doing.
Exactly. This type of tool can be good for teachers who might be new to the course and need some extra confirmation when they're grading the essays, students who want instantaneous feedback if they're writing the essay at 2 a.m. the night before it's due, and parents who want to provide for their students, for their child, a resource for maybe a subject that they're not comfortable in. So that's our app here, toktalk. You can scan this again on WeChat, not on not on WeChat, on anything but WeChat it works. And the team members, thank you very much. We have Katie Wu and Megan Wei, Eve Bornstein, and myself, David Chadzim. So thank you all very much.
Yay.